Hey, what's up friends, my name is Skymer and I am here from PlebTech, and today I'm going to be reviewing a OnePlus 2. I have been teasing this video for a couple of months now, and you know, I've had my pause on this OnePlus 2 for a while now, and I guess I'll leave the rest for the review. But you know, you guys probably all know the deal about OnePlus 2 now. You know, they make cheap phones which are often high quality, very high quality. In fact, the only phones I've ever known them to make, which is 3 phones, are all very high quality. I have seen them all for person, I have used them all in person, and they're really good, but they're often quoted the flagship killer. I will not say that they are the flagship killers, and in this review I'm going to say whether you should buy one or not depending on what your needs are. And in fact, I'm leaving the option up to you because I'm actually just doing the good points and the bad points, and I'm going to say which category of person it would be good for. But yeah, there you go. And yeah, please do bear in mind that the only other phones I've used as my daily drivers is the HTC M8, the HTC M7, iPhone 4S, and a HTC 610. They're all fairly modern phones, between like a 3-year bracket, 4-year bracket, except for the 4S. But yeah, 4S, I did not get along with the iOS. That's just something to bear in mind, that I don't get along with iOS, and I prefer Android phones. But yeah, no, let's get into the review. To start this review off, I'm going to start with the aesthetics. Now, I absolutely love the aesthetics of this phone. The body has this kind of like rectangular shape to it, which in my opinion is nice, and it has shorter sides. The shorter sides have like this kind of curve on them, which I think looks very nice in my opinion. It's a very slight curve. It's not like a real, you can't really see it that well, but you can definitely in person, you can see that it's got a really nice curve. In my opinion, I think it just kind of makes it a bit more special than the standard iPhone, you know, the kind of like iPhone just rectangle. Not the iPhone 6 and above, just the old iPhones. If you know, like the iPhone 5 and whatnot, they had like this kind of curve with like the rounded corners. And like the previous Samsung phones, they had like the very curvy layout, which I am not really a fan of. But yeah, this is like, it's almost like a retro design apparently. Like, that's what my father said. He said, oh, it looks a bit like a retro design. Either that or he's insulting it because he's an iPhone fanboy. I'm sorry. And like the corners of the OnePlus 2 are like just slightly over a 90-degree angle, like very slightly because of the curves, but just very slightly over this 90-degree angle, which it actually looks really nice in my opinion. It's not like a really smooth curve. It's like, you can definitely see that there's like a definite curve there. And in my opinion, it looks really good, but that's just my opinion. And I think it looks quite elegant and sharp, and not too sharp, but just kind of like sharp enough to make it like stand out to you as something that's cool. Now the frame of this phone is a metal kind of frame, and I think it's improvement over last generation, which was a plastic. And if you remember on the Samsung Galaxy S5, that had a plastic chrome finish on it, whereas the one on the OnePlus 1 had this kind of like metallic paint on it, but it was plastic unfortunately, which is a big improvement over last generation. So many improvements have been made since last generation, and I'm hoping to see some more improvements next generation. Okay, so I think the frame just feels very solid, and it's much more solid than the said S5, because you know, the S5 just felt like, to me when I held it, it kind of just felt like it was going to flex in my hand. And like, I kind of, when I've used the S5 before, my friend has one, I don't really use it that often, but I used it to call my parents sometime. And so I like had it in my hand, and I kind of just applied a bit of pressure onto it, and I could like feel a tiny little bit of flex. Whereas with this, when I put pressure on the sides, I don't really feel any flex at all, which is really good. Which is also a big improvement over last generation, which I haven't actually used, but the plastic kind of did make it feel a bit more flimsy and not as solid as this model. And I mean, at the beginning when I bought this first phone, when I bought this phone, I was a bit disappointed, to be honest, because of the lack of back covers which I could have. I kind of just wanted a solid aluminium or brushed stainless steel type style, which I thought would look very nice, but you know, you can't always have what you want. And it's kind of like an iPhone or because I've always had like the HTC M8, which has like this kind of brushed aluminium almost, or stainless steel design on it, which I personally liked, but I've soon grown to love the sandstone back, which is actually very grippy. I love it for the grippiness of it. But yeah, now you could pay an extra £20, and there are 4 other designs for the back cover that you could get for £20. They consist of Kevlar, bamboo, black apricot, and rosewood. All of these designs seem very appealing to me, and although I love the design of the Kevlar back the most, even over the sandstone, unfortunately so, I'm kind of considering getting it, but it's £25 now from the store. I feel like just wrapping it myself with some slick wraps. No sponsor here. Now, as I mentioned before, the sandstone back is very unique. It's completely different from anything I've seen before, and so like it comes with the sandstone comes with the phone. It's a free back which comes with it. Any other back that you want, you have to pay for, and it kind of just adds an extra grip. And but I personally love this. But when I've asked some people at my school, they said that they did not like the actual feel to it. They said it was kind of like nails on chalkboard. That kind of gave them that kind of feel. So that's just something to bear in mind if you know you don't like sandpaper. Just hold a bit of sandpaper before. Get used to it. It's kind of very like low profile sandpaper, but just get used to like feeling it and whatnot. But yeah. Moving on to the front of the phone, it has this 5.5-inch 1080p display, which actually looks really brilliant. Like for a 1080p display, I can't really fault it. It's an IPS, which means that the colors are more accurate and more true than a TN, standard TN. Also, viewing angles are better than standard TNs, and the viewing angles when I've actually used the phone, they're not bad, but like I wouldn't say they're the best. I mean, since it's a glossy screen, I often feel like I get quite a lot of glare, but you do get that with most phones these days, unless you turn the brightness up to full, which will drain the battery faster. But yeah, now when I compared the screen to my friend's S6, which is smaller as well, so it's got a higher pixel density, the quality wasn't too different, but it was noticeable that there was like a slight bit of color difference, and like the pixel density, you could almost see that it was a little bit crisper. But I don't really think it's worth the extra £400, I think it is, for an S6. Maybe that's an S6 Edge. I have not got my facts straight, I'm sorry. But just below the screen we see these two LED buttons. Now I got one gripe with these LED buttons. They're blue. That's my only gripe. I mean, blue is a great color, but I mean, on the top of the phone we see like this next to the selfie camera and the speaker for ears. We see this LED which you can configure to do stuff when it's low battery or whatnot. You can change the color of it, and you got loads of different colors which you can choose from, which I would have liked to have seen for the buttons down at the bottom, but apparently that's not a thing yet. So maybe OnePlus, just shouting this out to you, maybe next generation include RGB lighting for the buttons down below. That's just my only gripe with them. But these are touch sensitive buttons, and you know, these buttons are configurable. If you want on-screen buttons, then you can choose that, and you won't ever have them on. And you know, they're good. They're actually really good. I like them a lot, but I'm not a fan of on-screen buttons as much as I am with off-screen buttons. I've always used off-screen buttons if I can, which is why I don't really get on with the iPhone, probably. But I feel like also the on-screen buttons just clutter up quite a bit of space as well, which you can end up using for other things as well. But I don't really know what else like I can say about it, because it's just a personal thing that I like on-screen off-screen buttons. I like them to be like below, and because it gives me like a more clear, and it just kind of feels a bit more like you're in control rather than the phone's in control of what you do on the phone. But maybe that's just me, I'm sorry. Maybe it probably is just me. Now, in between these two buttons we see the fingerprint scanner. Now the fingerprint scanner is actually really brilliant. I've is really, really fast. Like, I can tap it as if it's the home button, and it will just get me in straight away, register my fingerprint. It's absolutely brilliant. Sometimes it doesn't work. You have to take like 2 or 3 attempts sometimes, but that's because of this funny angle that you normally put on, or you have wet fingers, which distorts the scanner because of, you know, about diffraction. That's it, probably. Whatnot, I don't even understand anymore. But yeah, that's because of the light and diffracts in the water, and you know, it doesn't pick up your fingerprint that well. But yeah, often people think that it's actually a button which you can press down, which really, really makes me cringe. But you know what? Yeah, phone call. It was my mum. But no, like, it really, really annoys me when people put down force onto the button, and like they're trying to like press it, and they're like, and they're trying to actually press it, like putting a lot of force in it. I'm thinking, you're gonna break my phone. You're going to break my phone. Why did I lend you my phone? And that's just my thing, because like I get really annoyed when people almost break phones and break my stuff, and it's happened before, and it makes me cry. But you know, oh well. Above the screen we see a 5-megapixel selfie camera, which doesn't look bad at all, and takes some decent photos. I mean, obviously it's not going to be as good as a front-facing camera, but it actually takes decent looking photos. You know, you can take decent looking selfies, and in fact I think it's one of the best selfie cameras I have seen around, unless you get one of those stupid like compact selfie cameras, which quite frankly are for all those lame and lonely people on Instagram who are like Instagram models. You know about Instagram models, guys? Yeah, those are lame people. I'm sorry, I probably just offended so many people, but you know, that's just me. But no, so I looked at some other photos taken with like an iPhone 6, which is what my brother has, by the way, and I used the same lighting and stuff in the OnePlus X as well, and quite frankly they didn't really match the style of the OnePlus 2, so you know, it's better, but like, in my opinion, even, and then like when moving on to the back camera, you know, the one by above the logo, we see this kind of like, it takes up to 4K pictures and 4K videos, but really I don't think there's a need for 4K stuff at this time. I think you need to get the bit rate, a decent bit rate first, and get some decent quality. But actually the rear camera actually copes really, really, really well with low light. Like, it really seriously is a competitor for the FZ200, which is what I use, and it's this bridge camera which costs about 200 quid, so it's, I think the lowest model is very similar price to the lowest model of a OnePlus 2, so it's competitive, but of course it's not going to be as good, but still, for the price, it's brilliant. And of course the FZ200 takes some brilliant pictures. Like, the pictures are really, really crisp with a FZ200, and you see all the B-roll that's going on here right now. Well, that's all taken with an FZ200 and a tripod, so yeah. But yeah, it's a 13 megapixel camera on the back, and has 6 lenses, which apparently helps cancel distortion and color aberration. I'm quoting that from the website. Yep. And it holds up really well even on low ISO. Like, I really didn't expect it to hold up this well in low ISO, but it has, and you know, I'm really, really impressed. You know, I can't fault it. Okay. And yeah, it's just very good, like, as a camera, and I'm gonna use this like as a compact camera to take with me. I'm not gonna buy like a compact camera. I used to have a compact camera which I'd take around with me, but I'm going to probably just use it as a compact camera most of the time, because that's all I'll ever use it as, just to take some decent photos. And if I'm ever going out on serious like trips to go down to the beach or something, take some decent photos, I'll use the FZ200. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion. And so onto the technical specs. Now this is where like I'm just going to quote from the website, because half the stuff here means nothing to me, but you know, I don't know, but it weighs this means something. The weight means something to me. Everyone knows about weight, but the weight is actually 175 grams, which isn't too bad. It's quite heavy though. It's heavier than the S6, heavier than the iPhone, but it's got a decent weight to it. It's not like you won't notice it's in your hand, but you definitely notice it's in your hand. But it's not like a paperweight either in your hand, so it's not going to tire out your hand either. Which, if you don't work in metric formats, is 6.17 ounces. Now, like the Sandstone and back, I'm a big fan of the Sandstone and back, as I said before. But yeah, I mean, the processor is got a octa-core processor, which quite frankly is an overkill in a phone. It's a Snapdragon 810 with 1.8 gigahertz, which, you know, it can run every game that I throw at it really well, like Need for Speed No Limits, Asphalt 8, and I think they're the most competitive ones that I used. I don't really have any other games, I'm sorry. But there are two models of the phone. Now there's the 3GB with 16GB of 3GB RAM model with 16 gigabytes of storage. Now there's a 64GB of storage one, which has 4 gigabytes of RAM. I have the one that has 64 gigabytes of storage and 4 gigabytes of RAM, but I never actually needed more than 3 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, I would have got the 3 gigabytes of RAM one, but you know, I couldn't. It wasn't like on sale. Like it wasn't. It was out of stock at the time, so I thought, well, screw it. I need a phone. I'll just buy the 4 gig one. And you know, I did, and it's fine. 64 gigabytes is plenty. I found out that there are no micro SD card slots for it. You've only got 2 SIM card slots, which is a shame. The OnePlus X has you can either have 2 SIM cards or 1 SIM card and a micro SD card. Now, having 2 SIM cards, I'm not sure how many other phones do this. I know the Asus Zenfone do it, but it's actually really good if you're going to go like traveling on the continent and stuff like that, or if you're in America to Canada or Mexico, one of those 2 countries. But yeah, if you're going to Europe and stuff, for me, like if I want to go to Germany or something like that, and if I travel to Germany quite frequently, or Sweden now, it's kind of Sweden for me, unfortunately. But yeah, if you're traveling to those places quite often, then you can just have a dual SIM card, which means that you can take calls and stuff from that country with your SIM card from that country, which I think is a great feature. It's also a dodgy feature as well, but it also, what I thought it could mean is that people who have a business phone, you wouldn't need to have a business phone anymore, since you could just have the SIM card holding all the contacts, so you can keep your personal life separate from your family life. That's what I thought, but you know, yeah, that's just what I thought, and it's just my thoughts really on that. But this phone has a USB-C port on it, next to 2 vents on the bottom. Now, I really like USB-C. USB-C is great. It's I really do love it. But the one problem I have with the USB-C is there's no fast charge, which is a shame, because like I realized that wasn't a problem for a while, but then like on Friday, which is 2 days from now, when I was having my teeth out, I literally woke up and I realised I hadn't put my phone on charge overnight, so it was only on 40%, so I had to run out of the house with it on 40%. But surprisingly, it did last the whole day, the battery life. It did last the whole day, and even going to the dentist and whatnot, coming back home at like 7 o'clock at night from the dentist with blood dripping down my mouth because I had teeth out. But yeah, even that was it survived, and I had like 5% left when I got in the door, and I was like, yo, that's actually really good. And I was playing games like No Limits all day and everything, so yeah. Also, Bluetooth was on, since I have a Razer Nabu and it's a watch basically. I'm not going to go into detail of that because yeah. Now it does run like pretty decently, but it does you do have, of course, in the box it does come with this nice USB-C red cable with a white thing on the end, and it's kind of like a flat cable. It looks very nice to me, and I've compared it to other cables of this type, and they're just not as good in my opinion. And USB-C is the way forward. It is the way that everything is going these days. I think in my personal opinion, I think it's the way that we are gonna go. Now, the OnePlus 2 does run on Oxygen OS. Now, I have not had any flaws like at the moment. Like, I have not had any problems with it, and I know some people have, like some people who have reviewed it before, but I'm pretty sure it's fixed by the time I had it, which looks quite nice. I did not like the Swift keyboard though, which came pre-installed, so I had to change it to the Google one because I didn't like the layout of the keys, so I had to change it, and I was like, yo, I gotta change it. I don't like it, but that's just my personal opinion, and you can change it. It's really easy to change if you want to. But yeah, they make a big thing out of the camera. I also forgot to mention earlier in this video that the camera does have a 720p and 120 FPS setting, so you can just take a video at 720p and you get 120 FPS, which is great for doing stuff like slow motion. I personally prefer to do like slow-mo it in editing software afterwards. Most people probably won't do that since they don't have an editing software like me, but it's decent. I actually really do like the camera. Now, the camera settings does have less like effects and stuff as the S6, but that's to be expected, and to be honest, it's not a major point either. It does have this notification button on the side of the phone, which I actually really like. I've used it so many times. I use it in class because I just turn off the class and I just turn it on to no notifications like being sent when I'm in class, and when I'm outside of class I'll set it all notifications and whatnot. And that's great because it just means it won't go off in class no matter who calls me or anything like that, which is great because like I would get it confiscated otherwise, and it's saved me a couple of times. And it also means that I don't have to turn it off, and turning off my phone it's annoying because you have to turn it off, and then when you want to use it again you just have to turn it on, whereas before I just press the fingerprint scanner and it's in instantly. So that's just my practical thoughts. Now, as I said earlier, with the battery life is really superb. I'm really like, it's got something like a 3,300 milliamp battery. Yeah, 3,300 milliamp battery, which actually lasts forever with this, and it's absolutely perfect for the phone. Nothing really ever. I never really ran out of it without the whole going through the whole day. The most I got down to was 40% for a whole day of, say, when I have my lunch break or my break after like the second period. I would just go on and like look on YouTube and like browse stuff there, browse whatever I like really, or just browse anything really, like or sometimes I'll play games like Need for Speed No Limits and whatnot, and you know, by the end of the day it was absolutely fine and I could still, you know, play it. But I mean, it's an amazing phone in my opinion. But I mean, now we should get on to like who's it for. Okay, so I honestly think it's more for the kind of more technologically advanced people, because it's a little bit difficult to navigate through an Android phone, and especially with this one, they don't necessarily make it easy for some things. It's relatively simple to do things, but it's not like for your average grandparent. I mean, I'm pretty sure a kid could get used to it pretty quickly, but not your average grandparent. But I know some grandparents are really good with like this kind of thing, and they can learn stuff really well and whatnot. I'm not saying it to you, I'm saying to your average grandparent. I mean, I guess it's probably, I would recommend it for anyone who's probably like 13 and up, because like some stuff on it's quite complex on how you do everything, but that's just how I think of it. And to be honest, I don't think anyone younger than 13 should have a phone like this. They should always have like a hand-me-down phone. That's what I always got, probably because I was brought up that way, that's how I see it, but I don't know. Anyway, this is just my thoughts on the phone. And yeah, no, I think it's really good for the money. And I mean, it's not really a flagship killer as such, because the S6 does beat it performance wise. And if you want something a bit cheaper, I would go with the OnePlus X. But that's just you know me. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, that's my overall conclusion to the whole thing. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, do subscribe for more, because not many people are subscribed right now. You know, this is the first video that we've done, proper video with high quality content and whatnot. But yeah, now we're finally doing this stuff on PlebTech, and you know, tell me guys what you think, because I think it's absolutely brilliant that we're doing stuff now. Give us feedback in the comments, so tell us how we can improve or how I can improve. And yeah, no, it's just brilliant to hear all you guys' thoughts on everything. But yeah, other than that, have a great day, take care, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.